Hey guys, welcome back to the Mad Maker Show. My name is Eloy, and well, we have a special guest today. We're about to interview in just a bit. I'm pretty excited to interview the guy because I'm kind of into the same things that I see him making for a while now. I've just started to like dabble in badly, but the point is we're gonna learn a few cool things here. I hope. We also have a guy that's supposed to be coming over to my house. It's a funny thing. And by the way, we're completely transparent. Mark frickin' Saunders. Might as well be Sanders. Mark Saunders, last minute calls. Hey, dude, I'm like half a block away. No, hey, dude, I'm in front of your last minute without pre-warning. Can you believe that? We love the guy.
Yeah.
We just love the guy. We love him. So, for those of you that are visiting here for the first time, this show, we've had a lot of interviews of people that we call makers and are called makers, and it's a general term with a very specific people that create things with their hands. It could be a wide-ranging different genres of. It could be metalworking. It could be even electronic painting, drawing, like Wartooth designs that we had at one time. It could be miniatures and things of that nature, like Sophie, make it Soph. Woodworking, turning, right? CNC, which is actually woodworking, they say. Debatable. So we call it the Mad Maker Show because people that create like this and just come up with things and then try to realize them, they could be eccentric a little bit, you know, and so madness, you know. So very interesting. A lot of interesting people that we've reached out and had interviews with. And if you are new and are seeing all those people in the chat, well, those are mad people too, in a good way, not a bad way. So I'm one of the hosts, Eloy, and that's JP over there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mad Maker Show. I am Jamie. I am sitting here drinking out of my man-crafted mug, as always. This week I released 2 videos. One being that, where my lathe was dancing all over my bench, where I had to turn one-handed, which was interesting to say the least. And that one, which I released today. I have a website, which is jp-woodwork.com. I am 1/5 of the Makers International podcast, which the website for that is makersinternationalpodcast.com. My YouTube channel is JP Woodwork. My Twitter and Instagram is Twitter and Instagram is JP-Woodwork, I think. Don't know, Michael's putting funny faces, putting me off. Both websites are sponsored by Steve Neal at Harnealmedia, which can be found at harnealmedia.com. And I think that is everything. Yep. Back to you, Eloy.
All right. Right on, dude. So I'd like to welcome Michael Zurcher to the Mad Maker Show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, dude.
What's up, my dudes? I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. I reached out to you, and it's so I really the first few times that we talked a little bit more was in Hangouts. I think it was after a Mad Maker Show where we really sat down and talked a little bit, and I got to listen to you and stuff. I just totally dug your mind, your point of view, and your work as well. So I had the idea of, interview, and I think I told you a few times, no?
Yep. You asked me a couple times. I wasn't sure I was ready to do it, but I figured, why not?
So yeah, dude, I'm totally stoked to ask you questions, and I'm sure that folks out there, they usually so our friends, which are friends in common, all of us, they usually like steal all the good questions and stuff. So I have nothing really proper and good to say. So oh, good. You see this? At the perfect time, Mark Saunders. Mark's at the perfect time.
Don't worry. I'll help you out. We might as well kick this off with when you and I first met down in Atlanta. Now there's obviously a funny story that we was talking about in the pre-show that not a lot of people know about, which is when you turned up in Atlanta with no clothes. So do you want to tell everybody about that?
Sure. Well, I was heading out to the Atlanta show, super excited. About to load my suitcase up. Got a call that my stickers were ready, and jumped in the car. Ran out to get my stickers. Got about 9 hours down the road. Realized I forgot my suitcase on my front steps, and just decided to continue on with the trip and make it the rest of the way down. Got down there. Shogun Jimmy picked up a Snoopy shirt for me. So basically all I had was my wooden tie, my stickers, and a Snoopy shirt. So I had to roll over to Walmart in the morning and pick up some clothes.
Nice. Yeah, I can remember you showed me. Was it a steampunk picture of the Queen?
Oh yeah, yep.
You did as well. I've got that picture somewhere. I think I'm gonna get that picture framed. I think have a nice piece of Michael Zurcher on the wall.
Nice.
Is that how you pronounce your name, Zurcher, or is it Zurcher?
Zurcher. Yep, like a K.
There we go. So yeah, if you haven't seen the video of the wooden tie, you've got a video on there, haven't you?
I do. It's on my YouTube channel.
What's it made? Is it tiger maple that you made it out of?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that was just came out incredible. So when Eloy gets back, which he is now, I'll go over and get a link to that and put it in the chat if anyone wants to go and have a look. So Eloy, you're back now, so take your show back over.
Well, so frickin' Mark Saunders. So what did you guys cover?
Nothing.
Yeah, pretty much no clothes.
We sat here in silence.
That's awesome, dude. So you were able, because before I said by the time Mark gets here, just try to drag out the question and the answer, like, so the answer is, by the time I get back and stuff. But my dog is dying to jump on Mark Saunders' bones at this point.
Okay.
All right, so as we were mentioning before, so I wanted you on and stuff, and you finally said yes. So give us a little bit about where you're from, little background, if you could.
Like where I'm from, like where I grew up, or where...
A little bit of childhood, just so we have perspective, a little bit of early history.
All right. I was born in New Jersey. When I was 4, I moved to Rhode Island and lived there for most of my life, and then came to college in Pennsylvania, met my wife, and settled in Pennsylvania. So that's where I currently reside. Yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell where I'm from.
Do you have brothers, sisters?
Oh yeah, I have a sister and 2 I have a stepsister and a stepbrother as well. They didn't really grow up with me. They grew up in their mother's house. It's a long, complicated story, but anyway, yeah. But my other sister I grew up with, she lives in Pennsylvania as well now. She lives out towards like Pottstown area, so about a half hour away.
And how long has it been that you've been in Pennsylvania?
Since I guess I moved here in 1997, but I had been going to college here since 1994. So, but I officially moved here in 97, yeah. So what is that, like almost, what, 21 years?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's insane.
I mean, time just it's just like a forward motion, full throttle, down train tracks.
I do love it in Pennsylvania though. Like I live out in a rural area, about an hour outside of Philadelphia. So it's a pretty easy drive to Philadelphia. But I live in an area called Chester County, and it's very art driven. And there's like tons of hiking trails and beautiful scenery. It's a really beautiful place. And so, you know, wood is no problem for me because everybody's cutting down trees all over the place, and I just roll up and, you know, ask people if I can have their wood.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a lot different than, you know, in Rhode Island. Well, actually, when I lived in Rhode Island, it's pretty rural there too, but not so much as far as like the woodworking artsy kind of community. It's more of like a beach town.
You also, so you do drawing and sketching as well?
I do. Not as much as I'd like to. I started drawing when I was like 4 years old, and my mom kind of encouraged me. And when I was 10, she got me private art lessons with a private painting instructor. So I started oil painting when I was 10, and I basically continued to oil paint until I got out of college and had, you know, got a job in the real world. And
I've just found the picture of the steampunk queen that
oh, yeah.
I don't know how well it's going to pick it up. It's a bit.
Yeah, that was a drawing I did for a contest, which I ended up winning. It was to steampunk something you wouldn't expect to be steampunked. So I was looking up some references on steampunk. I was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. I was looking up some references and a lot of like old Victorian style dresses and stuff like that. And then I started thinking it would be funny to steampunk the queen.
Wait a second. So that picture that JP just brought, can you bring it back up, or did you?
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
That's the one. Is that on your site?
It's probably on my Facebook page. I think it might be on it's on my Instagram as well. Yeah.
So we've both done the queen.
Yeah, hold on to it for half a second.
Actually, mine took 36 hours. So I have you beat there, JP.
Awesome. All right, JP. By the way, thank you, OJ. I appreciate that. JP, if you could add the link to OJ, because OJ is in the same. We haven't gotten to that part yet with the lathe and all the things that Zurcher does. But I want to say this. There's total art and creativity that flows out of you. All the stuff that we see on Facebook and on your channel. So it's like in your face of, you know, the creative value. I'm sorry, this is the Mad Maker show, so it's perfectly okay to do this, but like I'm trying to do a clean thing here so I can then take it and do some edits, and I've got my dog clicking with his little claws all over the wooden floor, clink, clank, in my ear. I don't know if you guys hear it or not.
Yeah.
Because he wants to go.
He's a musician. Cut him some slack.
Yeah, he's a little drummer dog.
Right, while he's off shooting off, sorting out the dog, let's ask you some questions.
All right.
We've got one from Heath Knuckles. He said, what's your favourite tool in the shop? And if you could add a tool to your shop, what would it be?
My favorite tool in the shop would have to be the lathe. I started wood turning about 1.5 years ago, and I've been through 3 lathes, and I finally bit the bullet and bought my dream lathe, and I love that thing. It's just been so awesome to work with. If I had to have another, or if I could have another tool in the shop, what would it be? I think I'd get a CNC. I would have to say a CNC for sure. I have so many ideas, and with my 3D background, I would love to see what I could do with a CNC and incorporate that into some of my wood turning.
Yeah.
Did you
I
guys
mean,
hear me ragging on Mark's on because I forgot to press the mute button, or no?
no, we were busy doing your show while you was off gallivanting.
Oh,
You know.
finish up. I'm sorry.
All right, we've got another question from Matt Huss. He said, "What's your favorite project?"
My favorite project? That's tough. I do so many different types of projects. I guess in wood turning, my favorite project, I turned a really big cherry burl that had all kinds of like naturally flowing edges. And it had like holes coming through it. And I love that type of a project where you really let the natural beauty of the wood show. So those typically are my favorite types of projects wood turning wise. But I do, like I said, I do 3D animation. I own a 3D animation studio, so we do a ton of different types of projects there. So it's hard to say with that, but and then I do painting and drawing. So I'm kind of dispersed amongst a lot of different creative mediums, and it's hard to say which one's my favorite. But lately, I've been really gravitating towards wood turning.
Yeah.
And woodworking. It kind of captured my heart. It was amazing. You know, the first time I got a lathe and seeing the wood just kind of evolve into something right in front of your face. It just captured my heart, and I was addicted from the first time I turned a piece.
Oh, Eloy's experiencing that now.
Yeah,
so
I just want to say, Eloy, it's so good to see you turning. I am so happy that you're picking up the lathe. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's such a great. Okay, so when you're doing like just working with dimensional lumber and you want to make it look not like a square box, which is fine too. Like there's a whole, there's all these categories of things, but when you want to give it some 3-dimensional sort of organic shapes to it, you'd have to, without the lathe, well, I hate to say CNC. You could just go ahead and use a CNC, or you can go and use a 3D printer, or you could. But considering you'd have to go the route of carving, like a Bobby Duke would do, or whatnot. Well, the lathe is a nice, comfort place, which you can actually add layers to after the fact. I just started with it. I've seen the possibilities out there. I've been consuming early Carl Jacobson and early Twidell videos, like I would have done with the music back in the day. Like, oh, I'm starting with the first Beatles album, I'm working my way up, and yours as well. I'm going to start. I started this weekend because one gets busy, and I'm going to start with you. There's just so many different vibes to it, and I'm a complete novice, and it's like a world that's opened up. So it's a total trip.
Yeah, I remember I was in your shoes not too long ago, and it was I started seeing some stuff. Carl Jacobson, you mentioned, he was a huge inspiration for me to start. I started watching his stuff. Yeah. Started watching his stuff. Robbie the Wood Turner, that guy, I don't know if anybody's heard from him, but I miss that guy dearly. He's such a fantastic guy, and he was an early on inspiration. And I decided to pick up a lathe watching those guys. But there's so much good content on YouTube to get you started, and the community's so awesome. If you have questions, people are always willing to chuck in the help. So yeah, if you ever have any questions and I can help out, feel free to ask.
Yeah, one of the cool things that I liked when we first talked, maybe a month or two ago, on a hangout, I just liked the way you interacted and stuff. It just felt like very open-minded and relaxed and informative, and it's a very great experience. So total awesome dude in my opinion, and I'm just receptive and the creativity to boot. So it's like I'm a fan, although I've not gone back and watched your stuff, but I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be consuming the videos just to internalize all that. But the first time that your name was, I did see you in the Atlanta pictures, and you were one of the guys that wished me a not happy birthday.
That is correct. Yep. And I didn't really know. I knew of you because I was friends with Shogun Jimmy, and I know he was, you know, friends with you. So I had seen some of your videos, but I had never actually spoken to you. And I think, you know, Chad came around and he was like, you know, we're gonna do this thing, and so legitimately I was like, Eloy who? like what? But I was, you know, of course joking around, but I'm glad that I've actually gotten a chance to know you, and it's yeah, it's
Now I hear from that time that you came to the Atlanta show completely naked.
no, I had a tie. I had my tie on.
Oh, well, then that's perfectly okay.
Wooden tie.
What happened?
I wasn't naked. I didn't have clothes. I just had one set of clothes, but we got into that a little bit earlier. Yeah, I had forgotten my suitcase, and I guess I will never live that down.
Well, you know, it's funny. We always ask our guests, is there any, and by the way, they usually say, we ask them, so is there anything you don't want to talk? We didn't do that with you. So maybe the coming to the Atlanta show with just a tie, you know, is something you didn't want to have out there, but it's too late now.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
So
next time I will just come on with just a tie and no clothes.
Hey, as long as it's waist up.
I'll move it there.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah, the chat's probably like, oh no, everybody just left.
Well, we've got a couple more questions for you. We've got one from 3.spoon. Says, what's your major in college?
I went to college for medical and scientific illustration. So basically, I had always been into science when I was a kid, and that was just another thing I was into. And one of my science teachers noticed that I would draw everything in class when we were studying in biology or whatever. And he saw some of my drawings and asked me if I had ever considered it. So he was a big influence on why I chose that as my major. And I ended up going to a college called Beaver College. If I figured I'd have to bring that up and mention that, but it was one of only four colleges in the whole country that had that as a major, actually. And the way I found it, I was just flipping through. This is before the internet. I was flipping through a big book my mom brought home, slapped it down, and said, "Here, go through this and try to find a college." So I was flipping through.
Great.
I was flipping through the book, and I see that right at the top, Beaver College. I'm like, no way. There's no college called Beaver College. So I went in, and I'm like looking through, and I'm like, oh my God, they have my major. They have the major I want. So I ended up coming to Pennsylvania to check it out, and it was an awesome campus. They had like a castle. It's all like kind of medieval looking.
That's badass.
Yeah, yeah.
Doc said that's PAAF. I don't know what that means.
What?
Doc said that's PAAF.
PAAF.
Does that mean something about Pennsylvania?
I don't know.
Pencil
as F. I don't know. Maybe, I don't. Not sure.
Doc, if you're gonna, Doc, just lay it on the table. Don't get us all confused with abbreviations and all that. Come on now. Are there any more questions?
Confusing the Brit.
Yeah, and me too. What is that? PAAS? What?
F.
You know what? We're just Vigo. No way.
So anyway, next question.
All right.
Michael, do you love sanding? That comes from OJ.
Do I like sanding?
Yeah.
It's not my favorite task in the shop for sure. I mean, sometimes I can kind of get into it, but usually if I'm sanding, it's because I have crappy tool control and I did something I shouldn't have. So, yeah, I don't like to sand too much, but I do sand a lot. It's just part of woodworking, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's it for the moment, Eloy. I just want me to give us a quick run for who's out there.
Do you guys have like the thumbprint on your phone where you can unlock your phone with your thumbprint?
I disable that on mine.
Oh, every time I go out in the shop, I come back in and I try to check my phone and I can't like use my thumbprint because it's sanded off. But
yeah, I disable it on mine.
Yeah, I don't have that sort of high technology going on with my phone. I'm surprised if it'll turn on, you know, when I want it to. It'll decide for me, you know.
Heath Knuckle says carbide or traditional tools. I think he's asking for an argument here.
Yeah. I use whatever tool is appropriate for the job. I do use carbide. I do use traditional tools.
Yeah.
Carbides are great for certain things and not so great for other things. So, you know, I use each tool as appropriate, I guess.
Yeah. It's like I use carbides, but I'm no way going to mock traditional tools. Every tool has its purpose.
Exactly.
All right, so I guess we'll get into a little bit of the lathe. Although you touched on it, you said that it's been a minute since you started with the lathe. Yeah, like what, 4 years?
No, I started. I guess it was about a year and a half ago, August of 2016, I think.
I mean, dude, every time, whenever so even not having, you know, a close connection with you prior, whenever, see, I don't know if I think in a slightly different way or whatever, but you post all these, you know, these pictures of the items that you make to sell and or whatever, and I look at it and it's like it floods me with that idea. This is like an art piece, you know, like what you'd see with all these cats that we know, right, that are out here, and you've been doing it for a year and a half or so, and yet the pieces are extraordinary. I guess building, is it that you've been working with all these different mediums, and just by including that, I mean, it ramps you up quite quick.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think given my background with painting and drawing and 3D, like the 3D stuff, it really helps me kind of visualize a piece. And I think that's another reason I'm so drawn to the wood turning, is because I can see that 3D form. And before I even start wood turning, I have an idea or a vision in my head of what it's going to be. And then sometimes, you know, you have to just let the wood be what it's going to be. I found that sometimes the wood doesn't want to be what your vision is, and it just wants to be something else. So it's a mixture between looking at the wood, the characteristics of the wood, the grain of the wood, and trying to find that balance of form and flow of a piece, and still trying to stay true to the vision that you had in your head. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but you know, I think all of those creative outlets have kind of led me to this place, and I try to approach each piece as an art piece rather than you know, just I'm going out to make something, and you know, like I don't know, like I try to think about it, you know, come up with the vision or the inspiration, and then try to pull that together in the piece. Instead of, you know, I'm not knocking people that go out and turn, you know, bowls like, you know, utility type pieces. because I certainly do that as well. But each piece I still try to incorporate some type of artistic, I don't know what you call it, but a little bit of artistic nature.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you did maybe last week or the week before last. You were on Facebook, and for those of you that don't know Michael Zurcher's work, you can look in the description and go check it. I mean, you'll be amazed, big time. It's just very interesting. Last week or the week before last, you did a lidded box with this decor on top of it. But you gave a private group that we got over there on Facebook the option, or at least the question, and you put up various box sort of styles and said, which one do you think, and this and that, and people. So I'm trying to do a lidded box now. But anyways, tell us a little bit about how many boxes have you done and the style, why that style. I mean, just give us a little bit about that process of making lidded boxes and the art that you include into that.
I love making lidded boxes. They're challenging. There's a lot of steps to them, and it just kind of keeps my mind busy. And you can do there's so many different forms you can do, and I think there's so much left to still explore with lidded boxes. And I kind of got off lidded boxes for a beat and started doing pendants, but I found like the pendants kind of helped me. They're like little miniature turnings. I could go out and turn one in half an hour or so, and kind of it allowed me to explore some ideas that I had that I could then bring into other pieces. And I just think lidded box is kind of a beautiful segue between like a utility piece and an art piece, because people tend to put like jewelry, and they're kind of special little things that you can put stuff inside. And so their utility, they have a purpose, but you want them to be kind of ornate or decorative as well. So you have a lot of room for artistic creativity, I think. So that's why I'm kind of drawn to those as well.
Do you have a website where you sell them?
I don't currently have a website. I was thinking about doing an Etsy. Then I thought about maybe just doing it on my Facebook page. But I do sell some stuff. I don't sell all my stuff. I have a ton of stuff that's piling up. It's all set up on a shelf, and my wife's like, what are you gonna do with all this stuff? You got, but eventually I'll get a storefront up and start selling some pieces. But I'm trying to get to a point where I have a body of work that maybe get into a gallery and kind of go that direction. I think the stuff that I like to turn, I don't know that I would take to like a craft show or something like that. I don't think I would do as well, just because I have a lot of hours invested in a lot of those pieces. So I don't think I could charge the amount that I would want for them. So it's kind of, it's all still new to me, a year and a half. So I'm really still trying to find that voice with it, but, and not really sure. People approach me and ask me if I'll do a commission piece, or it's very difficult for me. Like I don't know yet like how to price things. I think that's the hardest thing for me, and that's probably why I haven't set up a storefront yet.
That's interesting. I ask that question every now and again from guests to see where their minds are at. So when you spend so much time on a piece, it's like I'll use JP as an example. He put in, I don't know how many hours, he said 70 plus hours or more into the Queen.
Was it no, it wasn't that many. It was 27 hours.
The way that came out, how many hours you put How many hours?
27 hours.
I was so serious about it, and then the little joke gremlins in my head, the little hamster wheel started turning. So you put 20 hours into the Queen?
27.
Okay.
Don't
So,
get the other 7.
well, so
That was the night to finish her off.
so you see, you don't want to let me go into, you don't want me to go back to normal. So you can't sell that at a price that you would consider reasonable, like, you know, a pound lamp. You can't do, you can't, you gotta charge what your time and that work, you know, you gotta do it, you know, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you know, most of the time, if I'm turning a piece, I'll turn it for myself. Like, that's pretty much how I do all my work. Is I do it first and foremost for me, because I think I work better that way. I'm more creative that way. I don't feel the pressure from outside. You know, pressure saying, "Hey, you need to get this done." Like, I always found that when it became work, it didn't become I wasn't motivated to do it, or you know, like I couldn't get myself out to go do that task. So I keep all of my artwork kind of internal. It has to be for me first, and then if I do something and somebody likes it and they want to buy it, you know, if I want to let it go, then you know, no problem. I'll sell work. But you know, it's always hard when people ask you to do something. You kind of feel like now you're obligated, and you have to, you know, it becomes more of like a chore rather than a labor of love, you know. So but sometimes I've gotten a few commission pieces, and I will take them on if it's something that interests me. Like, if I'm genuinely interested in the idea or the concept that they've approached me with, then yeah, I'll certainly, you know, entertain the idea of taking it on. But
it kind of comes back down to these queens again that I done. Now, I stack cut them and done 2 at the same time. And my original thought was I was going to actually send one to the Queen, and yes, I could get recognition for it and such, which would be great. Don't get me wrong. But then an opportunity came up where I could give it to charity. You know, and for me, that's up there. Do you know what I mean? Where a lot more people could benefit from it than me benefiting from it. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So both of them are going to charity now. So that's the way it is. So
yeah, I do that. That's another way that I like to work as well. Is I'll do something as a gift, because it means like something to me, putting myself into a piece and then gifting it to somebody and having, you know, like they're not expecting it or whatever, like that motivates me to actually, you know, do work as well. You know, charity is another great option though too.
So now let's enter the world of wood turning plus this new element that you introduced into your work, which is the resin epoxy. That those two things, boom, coming together. What a, you know, what a leap, right? It just color splash, you know, it riches up the work. It's just, tell us, when did you start thinking of epoxy resins and all that?
I mean, that was that was pretty early on, actually. It started because I was, so you'll find this out pretty quickly. Well, I guess it depends on what kinds of wood you're turning, but so early on, I didn't really understand fully a lot about wood, as far as that it moves and it's wet, and when it dries, it tends to crack. So I started looking at ways to like fix these pieces that kept breaking and cracking. And, you know, you spend all this time on it and you get this amazing form. And then all of a sudden, you know, you shelf it and a couple days later it's split down the middle and you're like, what? Wow. No, you know, you just wasted 10 hours. And so I originally started, how can I, you know, fix these pieces? And I started using like just epoxy, and then I started getting intrigued by the idea of, you know, I saw people filling cracks in with turquoise, and I was like, well, maybe, you know, maybe I could use this resin stuff to like fill in the gaps, and then I started seeing it pop up more and more, and people, you know, making rings and jewelry out of it, and then of course Heath Knuckles, you know, huge inspiration with that. So then you kind of, it's another rabbit hole, you know. I like to incorporate color into my work. I love natural wood. I love natural finishes. But I do like little elements of color that draw your eye in. Little, if the wood doesn't have a lot of character, then, you know, like it's nice to add a little bit of character by adding additional elements of color. So whether it's using skateboard material or you know, just different laminated types of wood together that really contrast, or resin, you know, that's those are just different ways of adding color. Even dye. I mean, I've kind of breached into that realm as well.
How did you come about like getting the two pieces of wood you thought, you know what, a piece of skateboard would look good between that?
Actually, so the skateboard stuff, I'd been following some people on Instagram that they weren't doing wood turning with it, but they were doing woodworking with skateboards. There's a Japanese guy, forget what his name, I'm gonna totally screw this up, but I think it's like Hiroshi or something like that. And he does these sculptural pieces out of skateboard, really amazing pieces. He's done like a skateboard skull, a skateboard heart, and they're like really big pieces. They're actually, he's become pretty well known for them. And I started thinking that's really cool. Like, you know, skateboard, that, you know, I have a skate park that's not too far from my house, and I stopped in one day, and they were like, yeah, we have all kinds of boards. How many do you need? And I walked out with, you know, 2 huge stacks, maybe like 20 boards. And I'm like, you know, so I've just been figuring out projects to use those, and I started to incorporate them into the wood turning just to add, like, you know, I was doing laminated pieces before that, and I was like, well, this is already pre-laminated and it's got the color. I was looking at getting like some hard rock maple that was dyed so that I could laminate it. And I'm like, I love the idea of taking something that's going to be discarded, or, you know, thrown away, burned, rot away, whatever, and then giving it new life. That's another kind of aspect to my art I like to showcase. So that was just a, you know, kind of a natural progression. I was like, all right, let me try this skateboard thing with wood turning. I hadn't seen a lot of people doing it with wood turning, and it just seemed like, let me give it a shot. And I've since seen, you know, some people popping up doing some pretty amazing stuff with it. So
Have you?
Very cool.
Have you? I'm sorry, JP. Go ahead.
No, so I was just saying, very cool. I do have a couple of questions though.
Oh, okay.
Got 3 Dot Spoon says, what's your day job?
my day job is I own a 3D animation studio. So basically I do animations for television, episodic television shows, TV commercials, visual effects for film, I do a lot of medical animation, being that the medical is my background. So for, like, you know, pharma companies or medical device companies, yeah, that's my day job.
Okay, and there's also another one from Chips Build saying, what's the hardest thing you've made?
The hardest thing? I mean, I guess probably the hardest thing that I made was that cherry burl bowl. That really, that was really, really challenging. It was a huge burl, and I just put the whole thing on the lathe and just went for it. And it's really difficult when a piece is so off balance, and you know, you have areas that are bulging out here and there, and there's holes in it, and
Yeah,
you're doing
I know
undercut.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's funny that you put that video out with your lathe that was dancing. That piece, I actually was filming that piece, which I have the footage. I just haven't put it up on YouTube yet. But so I had the shot locked off, and it's turning, and I'm roughing it with a roughing gouge, and the lathe, I mean, it was only going about maybe 250, 300 RPM something. And I didn't realize how much the lathe was moving, because my lathe isn't bolted down, which I really definitely need to do. But I happened to look up about 5 minutes in, and my shot was my lathe had moved completely off camera. Like,
Wow.
so that's how much it moved. Yeah, after that, I just, you know, I took it easy and just had to keep moving the camera, and picking that lathe up and moving it back was a bear. That thing weighs about 600 pounds, and that was not fun.
Yeah, I mean, to move 600 pounds, that's a lot of weight to move
by yourself. So it's one of those things. I wanted to get the casters for it, but I just didn't do it because I figured I was going to bolt it to the floor. But I just added more weight down underneath the legs. There's a little lip, so I put a board underneath and added sandbags, and that seemed to help out quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Another one from 3.spoon says, what's your favorite wood to work with?
My favorite wood, man, there's so many. I love burl. Burl's my favorite to look at. I mean, it's just amazing stuff. But I don't typically work with a ton of burl because it's expensive and it's not really readily found locally. So most of the wood that I work with is local hardwoods, and I would say out of those, probably black walnut is one of my favorites, and flaming box elder maple is another one. I have a love-hate relationship with the flaming box elder. It's very punky, or at least the pieces that I've gotten. You know, typically those trees start to rot out because the bugs have infested it so much and done so much damage to the tree. That's what causes the red grain to go up.
Yeah.
So they typically rot out before anybody notices, and then when they're dead, they cut them down. So the grain is amazing. It's just it's a difficult wood to work with, unless you get a nice fresh piece. But it is some amazing stuff.
Yeah. That's everything at the moment, Eloy.
Okay. So I was thinking prior. Okay, yeah, I know that, JP. I can't do the side message board without mentioning it live at the same time. I can't split my brain that way. I do know. So I was thinking before when you guys went off into this conversation, it'd be cool if, like, I don't know if you sketch out at any time your ideas, you know, with the art, and then you make the piece, and it would be so cool to have, like, when you sell it, the actual, like, drawing or sketch sort of, you know, put in an envelope, something, plus
Yeah.
the piece as a complete, you know, remember, you know, the I hate to say it like this, what's it called, that swap show, where people bring in like dolls, and this crappy doll's been sitting in my basement for
Antique Roadshow.
yeah, that one. And then people find notes connected to the, and it becomes this whole thing. Do you do sketches and then do the piece, or no?
Sometimes, sometimes if I have an idea in my head, I'll sketch it out to kind of visualize it even further. But then sometimes I'll even take it a step further and actually build it in 3D. So getting back to like that Facebook post where I had posted the picture of all the little lidded boxes and asked, you know, hey, which one would you guys like to see me make? That started out as, you know, an idea that I had in my head, and I started sketching it out, and it just wasn't, coming to me, I guess, in the sketch. So I just popped on the computer, got into my 3D software, and ended up making it. I had the base done, actually. I had already started turning the base, so I already knew what that was going to look like. I just didn't know what the top part was going to look like, or how it was going to flare out, or what I was going to do. So it's easy enough to just pop into 3D program and, you know, build that out and actually have a real model that you can rotate 360 degrees around and really visualize what the piece will look like. And then you can really quickly iterate, so you can go through and say, oh, let me see what it would look like if I did this, or if I changed the profile of this, like how would that affect it? And so you can really quickly get a bunch of different variations. And so then the hard part becomes like, which one do I do? Like, I have all these variations that are all pretty cool and all kind of similar, and then how do you choose out of those? Or do you make them a series? Or, you know, it's a tough question. But yeah, I could certainly see something like that. That would be kind of neat, is have the you know, the piece, and then the sketch. This, you know, usually the sketches are really quick, like they're nothing.
That's cool.
I don't take a lot of time. It's like, you know, it's almost like on a napkin kind of an idea.
Well,
know?
don't use a napkin, but it would be cool if it's, you know, like, and you do it doesn't matter, but the idea that they're attached,
right,
is so bad to the bone, dude. Like, I could totally see. I mean, to me, it would add like a tremendous amount of, you know, value, weight to the thing.
I think it's a cool idea. I actually really think that's kind of neat, because it kind of pulls it back to the art piece again, you know, like, and I like that. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah, but you can't steal it, dude. That's my idea.
I can't do that. All right.
No, you're forbidden from doing that.
All right.
You do it is actually out in the chat, and he's actually streaming whilst watching us. So he's actually streaming and streaming. So let's see if I'll hold this here and see if he will wave whilst.
Okay, let's see if he waves. Keep talking, JP.
Yeah, I'll keep talking, but you keep the chat going. Let's see if he actually waves.
Okay, I got you. All I have to do is press the click thing, the box, and it'll stay on you.
Yeah, it should do. Yeah, let's see if he waves.
Okay, I have it stuck on you. I hope he waves.
He said he was streaming us at the same time. So, but I think he was talking to some other people as well.
Yeah.
So, anyway, carry on with the interview, and I'll keep this still there.
All right. So yeah, I just like that idea of connecting the art, you know, with it. And if it were like a really intricate piece, that would be bad to the bone.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. So,
you know, like a really nicely decked out all the way piece. I think he's in another conversation, JP. We'll forget that for now.
Maybe. So I can still see, because I can still click back and forth. So don't worry.
All right. So
you may start seeing some preliminary sneak peek sketches then.
Oh, nice, dude.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, totally. Because, you know, I've mentioned it before to in the show and a lot. So I see this sort of group of people, this era, as a actual thing, like I don't want to say movement, because that kind of, but like a marker in time of all these people all of a sudden connecting this thing that has been around for, you know, as long as humans have been, which is creating things with your hands, and all these different techniques that arise from new technologies and all that. And now the inclusion of that plus video, instantaneous, on demand, for lack of a better word, melded together. I see, and all the people involved, all these makers, in all genres, right? From like 3D printing, like you do it over there, that's restreaming, to whatever, as part of an era. Do you see it as that? Does they give you that impression? I kind of see it as that.
That's another 3D printing. That's another tool I'd love to have in the shop, is a 3D printer. You know, take some of that. I have so many ideas. You know, basically, if you could take those 3D models, I have some software that you can sculpt things. Basically, it's like sculpting with clay, but in a virtual sense.
Yeah.
And then you can actually 3D print those. And I have some ideas that would be cool to, like, you know, sculpt those out and then cast them in resin and incorporate them into wood turned pieces. You know, like, I don't know. My brain's always going with ideas, and it's pretty crazy where you find inspiration. But, you know, every time I see something, I'm like, ooh, I could do this or that, you know, like incorporate this or that. And I think that's what, you know, keeps me going.
Yeah, dude. Do you ever run into a situation, because it does? So I have a certain, for lack of a better, you know, way of saying it, instinctual thing that makes sense to me as far as the creating, the creative process, where there's sort of kind of a continuity that fits within what's acceptable in my mind as something that I could present to others, or, you know, part of a body of work, you know, be it with music or woodworking or videos. And do you find that you sometimes you go off track and you feel scattered? Does that ever happen to you?
I wouldn't say scattered. Sometimes I feel unmotivated, or sometimes I think, you know, I am very very hard on my own work, like very critical of my own work. So sometimes if something doesn't come out correctly, or like the way that I had envisioned it, I won't share it, or I won't, and I get kind of frustrated about it. And it hasn't really been until I kind of met some people in this community that I've been able to, like, openly share kind of behind the scenes, and it gives me an outlet, and that keeps me motivated, because I can, you know, chuck an image over to somebody and say, hey, you know, I was working on this piece and it didn't come out the way I wanted it. You know, do you have any suggestions, or what do you think of it? And you know, some ideas will start flowing back, and then that kind of spurs some other ideas that I might, you know, can incorporate into it. And it's really cool to be part of a community where you have that, you know, that feedback that you can really keep you motivated, you know.
How did you? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was pretty much finished with that thought.
How did you? So when you first, see, because I know you do video as well as, like, your job. What is it exactly, or roughly what you do?
What I do?
Yeah, like as work.
Well, work is basically like, we do 3D animation. So anything 3D, it's very like a small version of Pixar, you know, like very small. But we don't do a lot of, like, character work. We do some character work, like for TV commercials and stuff like that. But mainly we do, like TV shows. You'll see graphics in between. If you guys have ever seen the show Tanked, we've done a bunch of graphics for that. The in-betweens, basically, when they're building a fish tank, and they want to show what the fish tank's going to look like before they actually build it, you know, we do the graphics that kind of go in there. And that was one show. There was a bunch of shows on HGTV, like Fix This Yard, you know, Bad Bath. There's a whole bunch of different shows that we've done the graphics for. We've done about 5 or 6 films, like visual effects for films, opening title sequences, that kind of thing. We do a ton of medical animation, like I said, medical device animation. So a company comes to us and says, hey, we have this medical device we're developing. We want to show investors, or we want to show doctors how this device operates in a surgical procedure. You know, can you show that? So we'll build that out and show how that works. Or a pharmaceutical company says, hey, we're coming out with this new drug. We want to show how it works inside the body. You know, this, and, you know, we'll talk to their science people, and then they say, this is what we think that it does, and can you show it doing that? So we kind of do that. So with that comes a lot of editing. Like, we don't do a ton of video editing. Most of the stuff that we do is generally under 2 to 3 minutes. But we do edit that as well, so it kind of became this natural thing, like, oh, I could probably do this YouTube thing. You know, I'm still learning the filming aspect, again, because we don't do a ton of video, so the filming is something that I'm kind of learning as I go. But yeah, the editing, I'm good with editing and transitions and creating, those really flowing pieces, I guess. It doesn't really show too much on my YouTube channel because those are a lot longer format, and I usually have multiple cameras set up, like two to 3 cameras set up when I'm filming, because I don't like to stop and move my camera. It breaks my creative flow. So I have like 2 or 3 cameras set up, and you know, going through a project, and the project could take, 6 hours, 8 hours, let's say, and you have 3 cameras with 8 hours of footage. That's 24 hours of footage you have to go through and try to edit. So it usually, YouTube editing takes forever. It's like,
it does
take me maybe 10 to 12 hours on average to edit a video for YouTube. And that's why I've kind of switched over a little bit and doing these shorter clips for Instagram and Facebook, because I can knock them out in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And, they're like 30 seconds to a minute long, and they just kind of showcase the piece, not really how it was made, but, what the piece is. And I have a lot of fun doing those because I add, sound to it, like sound design, and get some creative transitions. And so I would love to do a full YouTube video full out like that, but it's just comes down to time. I mean, I own a business, I have 3 kids, I barely have time to do what I do now. So
have you ever thought of, as you're saying this, the work that goes into like the YouTube thing, it exponentially, like, there's more and more content. How will that look like in 10, 20, 30 years? Like, how much content is going to be out there, dude?
A lot.
Is it insane?
I mean, there's already so much that I don't know what the statistics are, but it's like 400 or 500 hours of video is uploaded every second to YouTube. Something ridiculous like that. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Like, I don't know.
And also, it's like, okay, so it's like there's so much out there, and yet, at least for me, I end up in the same area, which is what we do, and then maybe a documentary here, and chances are that documentary, I've seen it at some, like, it's kind of like, what does one, like,
I rarely branch out. I stick to watching, pretty much the group of makers that I've gotten to know, and I don't know. I don't really branch out unless it's something that I want to learn or something. Maybe I get an idea and I'm like, okay, how can I incorporate this? Let me go watch a couple videos on, you know, how they do this so that maybe I can incorporate that into a piece somehow. But very rarely do I break out of my, you know, normal watched videos, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just saying for, you know, expanding the horizons and stuff, it's very hard, even if you try, to break out of a certain, at least it is for me, like I'll end up in the same topics that I enjoy. And I guess that's appropriate, but like if you want to, maybe there's something around the bend that'll just be mind-blowing and totally foreign from what you could conceive of, that would spark, you know, and yet I find myself in the same general vicinity of what our interests are, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a quick question from Brad. He says, Michael, have you spent much time on your bike this year?
No, I have not taken it out yet. I just haven't gotten around. It's actually just started getting warm enough to ride. So we had snow like a week ago. So this past weekend actually was really nice. Got up into the 70s. So I will definitely be getting it out very soon.
Okay, and another question from Mr. Heath Knuckles. He said, what does the word inspire mean to you, Mike?
Inspire. It's a very good question. So, I mean, Heath and I have talked about it quite a bit, but inspiration, you know, I think that people take it different ways. But for me, when I see something that, you know, is inspiring, it's taking an idea or a concept and then trying to figure out how to put your own spin on it. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I was inspired by so-and-so and, you know, look what I made. And they make a copy of it. And to me, that's not really inspiration, but I think, you know, inspiration is taking that idea and that concept and saying, all right, I like what they did there. How can I use part of that in my work and give it its own voice, you know? So I think that's pretty much what inspiration means to me.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's you know, and it's also at the same time, you know, sometimes if you try to copy of, let's say you're not very good at the copying process, it'll actually, you know,
Organically, yeah,
it'll turn into something different, right? And then people see it and pick up on that initial inspiration somehow, and they're like, "Wow, how cool!" It's just that the person really sucks at copying, but they actually end up doing like the Lou Reed, you know, with his rock and roll, right? It wasn't that brilliant necessarily. I don't want to be, you know, but it wasn't that like it was like pretty bad, and the band was out of tune, and you know, just off the beat, and yet they were a sensation with the Velvet Underground. So yeah, that happens too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great if you're, you know, like it's great to copy things if you're trying to learn. Like any artist will copy, right? So that's how you learn. Like you see something, you say, wow, how did that person do it? Let me try to figure it out. You know, it's when that copy becomes like, and then you put it out like, hey, look what I did, and then try to claim it as your own. That's kind of wrong. But I think it's okay to copy for sure. Like you know, you should copy because it's the only way you're gonna figure it out. I mean, I didn't just jump on the lathe one day and start making, you know, these things that are, you know, my art pieces or whatever. Like I copied what other people were doing first, just to say like, how does this technique work? How does, you know, like how do I start out even making a lidded box? Like, you know, like, so you go in and you do it. Or how do I paint a portrait of somebody? You know, study what the old masters did, and then eventually you'll find your own thing by using that inspiration. You know, like once you learn the techniques on how something's done, then you can apply yourself to it. And I think that's, you know, how I try to approach all of my wood turning, is try to put me into each piece. You know, try to do things that maybe other people haven't thought of, or maybe they have thought of it in one way, but I kind of pull it over into my own way and incorporate it that way. But yeah, art is a very interesting thing. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Just to do it and do it and put your own spin on it is really what it all comes down to.
Let me mention a couple of things here. Pausing for a second with what we're doing, I want to mention that next week, Jamie Page is going to be off to Maker Central. Is that a fact, JP? I think you're muted, mate.
No, not next week. I'm not.
Oh, so then what?
It's the week after.
Oh, so you can definitely do the show.
Yeah, no, next week I can. It's the week after.
Oh, it's the week. Okay, because, well, that totally, you know. So the week after, Doc is going to be sitting in, right? He confirmed it with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so next week we're going to have chipped builds. Okay, so Ashley's going to be here with us. If you've not checked out her channel, you could check that out. But she'll be with us here next week. And I just wanted to mention that. And I wanted to mention that because I thought that JP wasn't going to be. I don't know what's going on over in England here. So there's also another thing. Could you mention that, JP?
Yeah. One of the best guys in the community, Mr. Jerry Blakesley, has gotten a bit poorly over the past few days, and there's a GoFundMe been set up for him, because times are hard for him with being ill and such. I'm sure links will get put somewhere at the moment. For some unknown reason, I can't get onto my Facebook. I can get onto my phone, but for some reason I can't get onto my laptop. It's just not letting me on there. But I'm sure we can get links out here, there, and everywhere. So I will try. But yeah, at the moment I can't post it. So
I could post it. Where do I go?
If someone can send you the link to your Facebook inbox or wherever.
Yeah, send me the link. So Jerry Blakesley is not doing too well right now, and I guess this is a GoFundMe, yeah.
Yeah, just to raise a bit of cash for him, just to help him out. But take the sting off, I guess, is a better way of putting it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that now. I'll check because I'd like to just put it in the chat, just so that folks know. But he ended up in the hospital feeling like bad, right? Chest. He thought he was.
Yeah, I forgot what's that thing you have to. I think he's got tetanus, a tetanus infection.
I just got the link, and this I'm going to post it here, and this is for Jerry Blakesley, and it's going to go in right there. Okay, so just check out, read the info, so you know what's going on with Jerry. All right. All right, cool. So give us a few ideas of what you would like to do going forward with the social media stuff, be it videos or your work included in that. I really want to ask about YouTube and whatnot, but you did explain that because of time constraints, you're able to do these shorter clips and put them on Instagram and whatnot. But as far as your YouTube and all that, where do you see yourself going forward as far as projects and ideas, video concepts, and all that?
Well, I'll tell you, I do videotape pretty much every project, regardless of whether I edit it or not. Every once in a while, I'll say, you know, screw it. I'm not gonna tape today. I just want to have a free day of just total flowing creativity and just go for it. And those times are often the times that I kick myself and say, damn, I wish I'd filmed that, you know. So I'm just trying to get in the habit of filming everything that I do, so that eventually, you know, when things do slow down here or there, maybe I can get back in and edit a video together. And, you know, I don't think there's any time limit on, you know, when you can post something that you've created, you know, as far as on how something was made. So it's always nice to have that footage, you know, and as long as I keep creating, I think eventually I'd like to get back and do some YouTube videos for sure. I've just been focusing mainly on my Facebook page and Instagram more recently.
You're right. You're right about that, though, that you can have something that you did and it's recorded, you know, privately, and you can bring it out at any. I mean, there's so much that can be done, you know, with the footage, so it's always there. And that's a good thing. That's a good point.
And typically when I do film, I'll film the process of the entire thing. I don't film like an intro or an outro until I'm ready to edit. A lot of times then I'll go in and do the intro and outro. So, you know, as long as I still have the piece, you know, if I sell the piece, that's another reason why I like to hold on to the pieces, because and maybe I'll edit it someday, but I think that if I still have the piece, then I can just do the intro or outro and at any given point in time. So, and I don't talk while I'm doing my work, because I feel like, you know, the filming process itself is so, it takes so much time just to set up your cameras and get your angles and stuff. And like, I always hate to stop and like change the angles, and it just breaks your creative flow. So the more I can do to just keep things rolling, the better it is for me. That's how I like to work. But I don't know. It's I'll get back to YouTube eventually.
Yeah, the lathe thing is interesting. I got that lathe, right? That was given to me for my birthday. All these cool people got together and.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
No, it was dude. I mean, I'm still to this, like, the lathe, dude. A lathe, drill press, belt sander and disc sander combo. Just a bunch of the face, you know, protective shield, the tools, wood. I mean, it was like insane, right? I'm still not, like, I walk out because I did a bench for it and it's inside here, and so I walk out and it's like it's like surreal still to this moment, and I've been working at it and stuff. But it's like it's surreal, dude.
It's so cool that you do it in your living room too. That that is like. Yeah, right there. I mean, who does that? Eloy does.
Dude.
Yeah.
I
know, right?
I told my wife, I said, listen, if Eloy can turn wood projects in his living room, then I should be allowed to do it in my living room.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I took the dust collector and I
on the toilet.
Yeah.
You know what though? When you say stuff like that, although it sounds silly, that would make a great video, dude. I'm not kidding. If you could sit on the toilet with your scroll saw, I'd watch that. Wouldn't you guys watch that? Guy, you know what, dude? Screw it.
No.
I'm doing it. What?
You can do it. Go for it. I'm not.
No, dude. Look, that's the problem. I like ideas. And when somebody says something crazy like that,
I can't sit down and scroll, so it hurts my back. So
Eloy, here's the thing. Going back, so what Jamie just did was inspire you. Now you have to make it your own. So you have to take that idea and change it up a little bit. So what do you?
Yeah,
I got it.
Lay in the bath and just put a rest
No. I hate to say this, dude.
across the bath.
No, I don't. I hate to say this, dude, but so I have to add to it, so it's my own, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so fine.
Put the Eloy twist on it.
All right, well, here we go. Are you ready? I hate to say I'm sorry, guys. So you first pick, the first shot is the toilet with the, from the outside looking in with the frickin' scroll saw sitting there on a little stool. Next shot, you're sitting there with the scroll saw between your legs, straddling the scroll saw on the toilet. Next shot, a close up of the face going, and you hear a sound, bloop, bloop, and then you begin. And then you start scrolling, but you do hear that bloop, bloop. That is classics. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to say that. It's just this is Jamie Page's fault.
Pat Lapp would do it.
Yes, he would. Boy, I just see when I get inspired like that, and this is good stuff, right? This is classy.
I mean, is it ever a good idea to be nude around tools?
I don't think so.
Probably not. I don't.
Eloy cuts himself on a scroll saw, so.
I mean, I get the safety police on. If I have a ring on when I'm turning, I get safety police. I don't know if you got your drawers dropped and you're scroll sawing. I don't know. What do you have to say about that, JP?
I'll wear a rubber ring instead.
Yeah, I took mine off just because it was a pain to have to keep taking it on and off.
Or how they have the Nutella, like exaggerated Nutella videos out there. I don't know if you've seen them, but like people they bathe in it and stuff. Like I mean, you got to be creative, dude. So you I mean, listen, that's it. You take a jug of Nutella and you lather it on yourself, dude. Maybe take a pillow and break it up and just pour it on top so they stick to you, and then start scrolling or on the lathe, dude. We got to break out of the moment.
Have you seen the size of me? You realize how much Nutella that would take?
I'm just saying. So
I like your other idea better about the drawing. I'll just stick with that one.
Eloy, this isn't scratched.
Yeah, well, you're the one that said the toilet thing, dude. Well, the point is.
Oh, sheep monkeys.
Oh yeah. Diaper monkeys, you said?
Yeah.
The point that I originally started before the toilet situation was so I don't know what it was because we went so far that now I've lost my way and can't find my way back home. But there was a point prior to that. What was I talking about before the damn toilet?
I know. Just find your way back home, Eloy. Find your way back home.
Can I do it? Can I come back to it? We were talking about where you're gonna go with the videos. Oh, so the lathe. I found it. So we were talking about now with the lathe. I got the lathe and this and that. I've been filming. I filmed like 3 little adventures of the lathe. The first one was I turned what was it? Oh, R2D2.
Steam pump. Yep.
Then I did like a statuette of a lady with a hat.
Yep. And
then this one, I had JP. I visited JP on a hangout, half of that video, and I'm telling him, "Hey, dude, I need a faceplate because I want to do a lidded box and all that." Well, what I find with the lathe is that you can totally change it up video style. You don't have to go step like a typical DIY build. You don't have to. You could be creative as a heck, dude, and then interspersed with what you're doing. So I decided to frickin' do it up, and I'm sitting in front of the screen, and then in the screen it's playing the actual video, and then it zooms in, and then you're back in and you could be very creative in that. I guess you could do it with other things, but as far as creativity using the lathe, because it's a stationary tool and you've got angles, there's a bunch of things that what ideas come to mind for you?
For me?
As far as videoing.
I mean, my videos are pretty much, I just try to pick a couple really cool angles. It's something that I really need to work on. Like I think that video for me, like I can envision it. I just don't want to I don't feel like taking the time to stop that creative process to like change the angles. But I need to start doing it more and paying attention. And the more I've gotten into the community, the more I've started thinking about different ways of approaching it, and maybe, you know, really kind of not pre-plan your shots, but think, okay, these are the shots that I want in the list, and just shoot 15-20 seconds of this shot, 15-20 seconds of this shot. Don't film the entire process, although I do kind of like to have all the footage. It's kind of like almost my own documentary, you know, like someday when I'm long gone, somebody will find this hard drive and it will have my entire process for, you know, like unedited footage. And I think that's, for me, that's very intriguing. You know, not that anybody might, I don't know, not that anybody would want to watch it, but
no, don't see that I get. Well, I get the
I would.
What's that, JP?
I would.
Yeah, exactly. There's so, and I know you know this, but you're saying I'm not trying to. In a way, you're saying I'm not trying to say I'm like the Mac Daddy of the, you know, but at the same time, the inspiration that occurs from your work, yeah, will continue on, you know, and you never know who will pick up on it and be blown totally away. Like
yeah.
there's whole generations of people that aren't aware of. My goodness, we'll stick with like woodworking that'll come across. Let's put it this way: there'll be a person that's new to everything, and they'll come across not, let's say, a Jimmy DiResta video, but a guy from that era that was inspired and did, I don't know, whatever, inspired by, and then they'll see that guy and they don't know the source of where that inspiration comes, and it just snowballs. I mean, it's an organic moving thing, for instance, as an example. Do you get what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's
like a spider's web of
part of the reason I'd started the YouTube channel was, you know, to kind of give other people inspiration, you know, show them a little bit of my thought process and say, hey, you know, this is how I do it. This is the idea that I have, and this is my exploration of that idea. You know, maybe you can continue on that exploration and come up with something of your own that's, you know, derived from or inspired by, you know, like I love that idea. And it's kind of like a documentary in itself. It's like, this is a part of my life that I'm sharing with the world, you know, like, and I think that's what's really cool about YouTube is, you know, it's up there and it's up there forever. And, you know, 20 years down the road, I don't know if it's still going to be up there, but if it is, that's kind of like, you can look back and be like, you know, here I was 20 years ago, look what I was doing, or your kids can look at it, or your grandkids can look at it, or, you know, it's kind of like a journal as well as of your journey. And, you know, I can't imagine where I'll be in 20 years. It's, you know, who knows? Who knows? Hopefully still happy and turning and creating. I mean, I can't imagine ever not creating. So I think I'll be doing art for the rest of my life. But yeah, it would be cool to go back 20 years from now and look through all that old footage and see how far you've progressed. I think that's the other really cool thing is, you know, I can look back at my first video and be like, wow, like that was so bad. Like, you know, and then you see each video, you try to strive to do a little bit, something a little different or something a little better, just to get better each time, whether it be with your artwork or with the video itself. And it's kind of a journal, you know, it's a little progression of you.
Yep. So. Yeah, dude, it's an exciting, to me, it's an exciting, like I've mentioned before, it's a very exciting time in that all these people from across the world, right, in this country and abroad, making all these connections with similar interests and the spirit of what it is. It's many things, but there's definitely unity on many levels, notwithstanding the normal, you know, personality and issues that humans have in contact with each other generally. It's an incredible moment, and I see it as an era, dude, for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's I think we're all connected, and I think, you know, I have this weird thing with the universe, right? So the way that I believe that the universe works is we're all connected by this, you know, energy. And you ever have an idea and you put it out there and you say it to somebody, and then, like, you know, it's almost like those things start getting drawn towards you. So, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's
Yes.
but
Yes.
those ideas, that you'll start seeing them more and more. And I don't know if it's just because you've made yourself consciously aware that you're searching for them, or if it's the universe itself connecting the energy and pulling those things towards you. I don't know. We're getting a little bit philosophical here, but
it's a show going episode all over again.
But it's important to that you said that, because it opens up something that occurs in your mind, and that's kind of really a major part of what we want from this show. So to give us that, I appreciate that. I mean, really, we want that, because in that esoteric little area of who knows what and big question marks also lies, you know, inspiration as well, just awe. You know?
Yeah, I mean, think about a world with only one person. Like, how much inspiration would there be? Probably not much, you know?
Oh, yeah, with one way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean...
imagine one woodworking tool, one TV station, one way of thinking, one color, one everything. Here you go. Here's here. And, okay, it's useless. You want frickin' splashes of color. You want paint cans dripping on the floor. You want a mess. You do want that.
Yeah, you need to have those people that take the chance and do something, and then it spurs on somebody else to take a chance and do something, and then, you know, people, that's the way, you know, things progress, you know.
Heck yeah, dude.
Everything's like that, and any industry is kind of like that, and technology's like that. Like, I mean, it's just taking that one step forward, you know, to do something a little bit differently.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
Did you enjoy this show?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great time.
Awesome, dude. Well, will you come back and say hey to us?
Absolutely. Anytime.
Dude, you're awesome. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. So the links are below, but could you, where do you want folks to go check out your, I mean, for your art and for all these things, so they can continue to learn more?
I would say, you know, for the most recent stuff, Instagram, it's just Michael Zurcher. Everything's pretty much under my name. So my Facebook page is Michael Zurcher Arts. I think you can type in Michael Zurcher Arts on Instagram as well. If you want to check out some of the 3D work that I do, my website is www.3-dart.net.
Dash, like I linked it, right? Did I link it below? I did.
Yeah, I think it's down below. So yeah, any of those will work.
Okay, dude. JP?
Nothing much really. Just my YouTube channel is my YouTube channel is JP Woodwork. My Twitter and Instagram is JP-Woodwork. My website is jp-woodwork.com. And that is it. All
right, so guys, as always, thank you for hanging out with us. Well, you're all our buddies out there in the hangout or chat, better said, and we've said a lot of things, and the whole community thing, it's amazing, right? So thanks for hanging out. I'm always I'm always blown away and re-blown away with things that I've already, and just I keep getting blown away by things. Next week we have Chipped Built Ashley, so come over and say hey, and I just wishing you guys a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Mhm. Later.
Peace out.